lose sight of that and to think ahead, but being really mindful of staying focused and not being derailed by things that are outside of our control, but really challenging the athletes at the highest level and preparing them at the highest level is the most important thing that I can do, because it really does prepare them for that next step in life. And I think that's what's so unique about college gymnastics is we're not a sport that they're going to continue doing for the next 30, 40 years. This really is the final chapter for them. So making sure that they understand how to take the lessons that they're learning in the gym and apply it to their life outside of the gym. And then also providing them with the tools and the preparation to maximize their experience on the competition floor. I think that's the greatest gift that we can give as coaches. And so remaining focused on that and being extremely diligent and disciplined with that as a head coach, I think is really important. And I still have a lot of growing and a lot of learning and a lot of evolving to do, and I think that's half the fun. So,
the eloquent leadership displayed by Tabitha Yim, and we can revise that score because we had multiple scoreboards showing different numbers. You never know what you're going to get at a gymnastics meet. The new margin is just over half a point, 0.525, so things remain tight. Heading into rotation 3, and another positive for the Stanford Cardinal. Beam is their best event, number 14 in the nation. And for the first and only time tonight, we'll see the redshirt freshman from Manitoba, 2016 Olympian for Canada. Here is Bella Onishko.
This is an athlete that's really known for her artistry, and you're going to see that on this event. And she also hasn't competed in years. She's very seasoned, she's very calm, cool, collected, handles pressure well.
I'll go back to that unique experience in the Summer Olympics. Representing Canada, placed 8th on beam.
Notice how dynamic she is, and she also absorbs all of her landings. Notice her arms are always down by her side, and she has a slight pause when she bends her knees before she comes back up to go into the next skill.
And you mentioned she's rested, did not compete last week at Utah. Her best score came week 1 against these Golden Bears on 9.875. Lot to like about that routine.
Beautiful gainer back pike. She held that landing.
Promising start for Stanford. Cal on the floor, number 12 in the nation. And it's been a productive night for Nevaeh de Sousa. 9.825 on bars, even better, a 9.875 on vault here on the floor. Career best is 9.875.
This is an athlete that really gets into the zone. She's very consistent, yet she brings grace to this event. A little too much power. She had to bounce back, and that lunge, her front foot slid a little bit. So the judges will take a little bit from that. That combo pass was a little more difficult. Usually you'll see a 1.5 into a front layout, but she added an extra full twist. Beautiful, Rudy. She had trouble with that jump right after that pass. She had much more control that time.
Mentioned some of the superlatives. Season high was a 9.875. Personal best 9.925.
She opens up with the double tuck, and notice how she kind of rebounds out of it. So her front foot slid back, so the judges will take extra for that. They like to see control on the landings.
9.8 flat for Onishko in her only performance tonight. For the second time, we see Taylor Lawson went 9.8 on bars here on the beam. 9.775 in her season debut last week on the road in Salt Lake City.
Really difficult skill. That's called an Arabian blind landing. During a half turn. And doing it over 4 inches makes it that much more difficult. Coach Tabitha mentioned how her presence brings stability. And you can kind of see it in her face. She's just very calm. Very good flick lay. Had much control there. Same dismount we saw from Bella.
Crowd loving every second of it. Taylor, fifth-year senior from Pennsylvania, will be honored after the meet along with Tyler Bryant, and we should pass along our congratulations. Recently got married.
Yes, I believe it was over the summer.
Right, Isaac Hodgins, we know him, Oregon State football player, and the Cardinal has their own prop. I'm not even going to guess what that is. It looks like a stick of wisdom, right? Help me out. I'm the old guy here.
I was thinking more of a staff. I don't know.
Okay, they're leading the way, right?
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings. Keep on talking. Maya Bordas continues in the all-around. 9.85 bars, 9.75 on the table. Her best on floor, 9.9. Coming off back-to-back 9.8s the last 2 meets.
We're going to see a lot of power and control. Starting off with that great double back. Here we're getting a sneak peek of her performance quality, drawing us into her performance. Coach Justin mentioned that she's really proven herself at the national level. She's consistent and such a joy to watch. There's a beautiful Rudy to finish it off.
Continues to put up big numbers, and she is very adept with the figures. She's getting ready to work in the world of business consulting after her collegiate career is done.
She opens up with a double tuck, and notice the control she has on the landing. She absorbs and lunges, keeping that pressure on the front leg.
All right, well, the bear head is on hiatus. I figured out, because I'm an alumnus here. Stanford, it's a tree. And a stick, get it?
Oh,
and
I understand.
Things.
Yes.
We'll work on this during the commercial. Back-to-back 9.8s for the first and only time tonight. Here is Wesley Stevenson, the upperclassman from Illinois, the senior, who earlier this year won the Pac-12 Coach's Choice Award for her performance against the Bears Week 1 with a 9.85.
She is excellent on this event, very solid. And it almost looks like she's comfortable up there on that 4 inches of wood. Really nice flick lay. And she was an athlete that actually sat out last year. And Tabitha mentioned that you would be amazed to see the progression from summer training to now. She basically started from 0, but worked so hard to get to this point. And I really can't put much emphasis on how hard it is to come back from this sport after a very long period of time.
Oh, sure, that's going to be a Herculean challenge. One of 5 gymnasts who opted out. The Cardinal was thrilled, came back.
It was a beautiful gainer layout full with an exclamation point on that routine.
Well, it's so tough to be a beam worker. You wait all night for one chance in the most treacherous part of our sport. Back-to-back 9.75s to start things for California on floor. There's Maya Lozon in her second event after she went 9.725 on the table. The freshman from the state of Washington trained at Metropolitan Gymnastics and went big last week as California cracked 197 for the first time this year. A sparkling 9-9 against Oregon State.
Beautiful first pass. Her feet were right under her after that front double full to make that punch front super high. And I just can't get over the performance quality from this freshman. That's something that usually takes a bit of time. Coach Justin in the back corner. Great last pass. 1.5 to a double full. The coaches describe her as an amazing athlete and person.
That was borne out, that very consistent routine. We'll see Maya again coming up on beam to wrap up this dual meet. With California looking to stay perfect, they're 3-0. Stanford at 1-4. They edged out Arizona in that quad meet in Tucson for their lone tally.
That first pass, she had her feet right under her, which prepped her well for that punch front. That was a great routine.
Best score yet, and good for Wesley Stevenson to come through with a 9.85. Second Olympian for the Cardinal on beam. Here is Sue On Tan, sophomore from Singapore, and we saw her in Tokyo representing her nation. Made her season debut on beam a week ago with a 9.7 against Utah. National champion in Singapore 2016 and 2018. And terrific to see her healthy. She's been really hobbled by a series of wrist injuries and needed multiple procedures.
Her series was a back handspring, back layout onto 2 feet. She was just a little off center, but she held it together. Sometimes in gymnastics it really is about how you learn to recover well when you have a balance check on the balance beam. That's why you'll see a lot of gymnasts dance out of wobbles sometimes.
And a terrific landing. Well, with the Winter Olympics underway, we have seen both of the Cardinal Olympians deliver a beam. Grab that staff and lead the Cardinal forward. working on a promo for Stanford. I'll do it for free. Best score yet on the floor, as Maya Lazan was equal to the challenge. Here's Andy Lee, who was absolutely sensational on bars. 995, 98 flat on the table. And her numbers have been astronomical on floor. I'll deliver them quickly. Back-to-back 9-9s to start the year. A 9.925 last week. Personal best, a 9.5.
Same pass we saw earlier from Maya. And again, a great start to the routine. I love how her music starts off so fluid, and she's very fluid with her movements, but now she's bringing some dynamic into it. Andy brings a lot of artistry to this event. Good combo pass. You know, Justin mentioned she's really improved her performance quality, and I can see it. That's her stage.
Shining here at Stanford University, mobbed by her teammates, and the best could potentially be coming up because Andy came through with a 9.925 against Stanford on beam the first time they met to start the year about a month ago. So California has been locked in, and look at what Stanford's doing on beam. Back-to-back 9.85s, well done by Todd for the third and final time tonight. Here's Brenna Nolt. After she had the shaky moment on bars, we'll put that aside. The vault was much better on 9.75.
It was a beautiful, unique mount we just saw from her. Right on. She's very controlled on this event. You can see how she's really being very intentional with each movement, each skill.
The freshman competed for precision gymnastics in Southern California, former SoCal champ in this event, and the all-around. Put up back-to-back 9.875s in the last two meets for the Cardinal.
We see a 1.5 dismount soon. There's a beautiful switch ring. It's very difficult because you're taking your eyes off the beam to look at your foot. But it also shows off your flexibility as well. Slight scooch forward, but she gets those heels together.
And just as an observation, how good is it to have an actual crowd and passionate fans savoring every moment? Stanford Gymnastics is back, and look at that monstrous number for Lee. Nothing lower than a 9.9 this year on floor. She is an absolute dynamic gymnast. Here is Schwank. At the end of this routine, I'm going to give you her academic prowess. We're talking about a Scholastic All-American who's gone 9.9 on bars and a 9.85 on the table.
This is another beautiful gymnast that brings artistry, but you can see when she gets on the floor exercise, she has fun.
As evidenced by the 9.9 she posted against Stanford in the opener.
double pike was good in the air, but she kind of lost control on the landing. Took her step back with the lunge, but had to take a little extra scooch to regain her balance. She liked that one. That was a solid pass right there.
Understandable that she would savor that performance. So 9-9's the number to beat. With 9-8 anchoring things on the floor last week against Oregon State. And briefly, what a tremendous student. Double major in molecular and cell biology. That's the first major. Got that degree. End of the semester, getting a second degree from the prestigious Haas School of Business. Vault, 9-8 flats. Here's Kyla Bryant continuing in the all-around after the career high 9.925 was achieved on vault, on 9.825 on bars.
Kyla brings a lot of difficulty to this event. This is a jam-packed routine. I need you to notice the height she gets, and it almost looks like she's light on her feet because of the amplitude she gets off of these 4 inches.
We alluded to the number when we started the broadcast, a 9.925 against Cal. Last time they got together, equaling her career best.
It was a beautiful flick lay. She was right on. The skill coming up is very difficult. A standing switch split. Anytime you see that, usually you'll see a gymnast run or step into it, but she has so much power, she's able to do it from a standing position, and she hits that 180. Punch front, as I mentioned, this routine is super jam-packed. She's an athlete that really goes for it. She wants to leave it all on the floor and watch this dismount. Over-rotated it a little bit, but it was the dismount I think that the judges are going to take the most off.
But from start to end, a demonstration as to why beam is Stanford's best event this year. Number 14 in the nation, Schwank, 9.775. And for the only time tonight, we see Grace Quinn, the senior from Dallas, anchoring the floor for California. Another gymnast who has persevered after she dealt with foot and elbow surgeries. Was sub-9 in the opener against Stanford. Did not compete the last 2 meets, but last year was absolutely dominant. 9-9 in 3 consecutive meets, including the Pac-12 championships in Utah, to tie for 10th place.
Beautiful first pass. That was a front layout to a Rudy, which is a 1.5. She has just been a solid floor worker for the Bears and really been a constant in this lineup. Prepping for her final pass. Double pike. Knew exactly where she was going to land.
Well, there's that radiant smile. We saw it midway through the routine. Big hug from Liz Crandall-Howell, who's so deeply involved with all of Cal's success on floor. California demonstrating why they've emerged as one of the best programs in the nation. We'll do the math and get you set for the final rotation straight ahead on Pac-12 Network.